Hello everybody, this is Fernando for the latest Urban Legends video. I thought I would mix this one in here while I'm continuing to do your aliens and UFO suggestion, mainly because my last video got some really good enthusiastic stuff. So some good views, some good comments as well. And on top of that, there was a very nice super chat from a user by the name of Marcial Jamaro 6425. So thank you so much, Marcial, for that. Much appreciated. So I thought I would do another one here because I also had some really good fun doing that last video. So I'm going to continue the same exact theme, showcase 3 more new entries associated from a website by the name of urbanlegendsonline.com. And then once again, it has to do with 3 tales that could either be true or false, but I think they're more of in the middle. Like in this case, they have some truth, some falseness, but it's that kind of stuff that's shared over the years that you can't quite rule out as it being 100% false. I'm going to give my own thoughts and opinions on each one too. So one of them is called the Horse Trailer Horror. The other one is called the Hamster Mishap. And the last one is called the Dog Walker. So let's go ahead and let's talk about those here. And once again, I'll give my thoughts and opinions. Let me know what you guys and gals think if you've heard of some of these as well. These are new to me, so I definitely haven't heard of these before. So the first one, Horse Trailer Horror, here's what it says. A man who was always fond of horse racing owned a few horses himself. One of his horses was quite old, but the man decided to race it one last time. The man tried to lead the horse into the mini trailer attached to his truck, but the horse wouldn't go in. Finally, after he forced the horse in, he began to drive to the track a few miles from where he boarded the horse. Now, the horse was constantly making noise and wouldn't be quiet. The man thought it was just the horse being stubborn. The man then noticed that people were honking their car horns at him as they drove by, but he ignored the other motorists and just kept driving. He knew the horse was upset and wanted to get him out of the trailer as soon as possible. When he reached the place the racetrack was and opened the trailer, he was shocked by what he found. His old horse was dead and the trailer was soaked with blood. The horse's legs had fallen through the rotted floor and were now ground to stubs. And that's it. That's everything associated with the urban legend known as the Horse Trailer Horror. So let's quickly talk about that one. Pretty unsettling story, right? I think there has to be some truth to this, mainly because if you've seen horse trailers, there's a bunch of them here in the central Texas area and throughout Texas in general. They are made out of either wood or maybe in some cases steel or some other type of metal, but for the most part it seems to be wood on that part. So you could just imagine that some of them over the years do get rotted down, and on top of that you have an animal that's several hundred pounds that's standing on top of them throughout the entire trek. So at a certain point one could imagine that there's a story somewhere out there of a poor horse that ended up having their feet go through that bottom part, and then when that happened as the trailer was being driven, then all of a sudden you see the next part, like clearly in this case a vehicle going 60-70 miles an hour with the poor horse on it. It just leads to that horrible circumstance for the horse. And I could picture easily the rest of the motorists honking and pointing and so on, but to the man, he was just thinking that it was the horse just looking downtrodden or something else and not really paying too much attention to it. Anybody hear about this one in their area? Let me know. Next one has to do with one that's called the Hamster Mishap, and here's what it says. A boy was playing with his hamster in the basement of his house just before the carpet man came to put new carpet down. When he arrived, the boy's mom told him to go upstairs and let the carpet man work in peace. It was a large basement, and after a while the carpet man was exhausted and decided to go out for a smoke. He saw a lump under the carpet he just laid down and realized that a cigarette pack was missing. But instead of pulling up the carpet and laying it down all over again, he just hammered that little lump down. On his way home after a long day, he found his cigarettes in his truck. He was wondering now what that little lump in the floor was, so he called the lady of the house the next day and asked her if she was missing any small items. She was surprised to hear from him and told him that they hadn't been able to find her son's hamster since the day before. Then that's it. That's everything associated with hamster mishaps. Let's go ahead and let's talk about that here. Again, another downtrodden urban legend. Here you have a situation with a tiny hamster somehow getting lost whenever the boy was playing with it downstairs in the basement. And on the very worst time possible, that's when the carpet man came down and the mom told the boy to go right upstairs. I can imagine also that the boy was saying, but mom, and then the lady was saying, no, get on up there, not realizing, of course, what was about to happen next. I could see some truth in this as well, because here you have a situation with a hamster, as quick and as small as they are, they could easily scurry to one single place in that large basement, be out of view, and then here comes Mr. Carpet Man laying down all the carpet, and the poor hamster just getting stuck inadvertently while they're darting from point A to point B. And then, of course, that lump answers the rest of the scenario as to what it was. Horrible situation, but again, I could see something like this happening for real when it comes to the list of urban legends. And then the last one is the one that's called the dog walker. It's a little short one, so let's talk about that here, but it has a little bit of a twist ending. There was the husband who was in the habit of taking the family dog for a nice long walk each evening. It was a good exercise for both of them, his wife felt, and the dog became so used to the routine that it positively drooled to be taken out on schedule every single night. When her husband was sick one evening, the wife took the dog out instead, and to her surprise, the dog pulled vigorously at the leash and led her around the block to a house around the corner and then began to scratch at the door. A female voice called out, "I won't be a minute, darling." Soon the door was opened by an attractive young woman in a negligee, and the dog dashed in straight to a dish of meat that was waiting for him as usual. Then that's it. That's everything associated with dog walkers. So let's talk about that here. Here we have a little scandalous tale. In this case, apparently the husband was very nicely taking the family dog out for a walk. What should have been a short walk ended up being a long walk, and it looks like it was happening each evening. But as it turns out, there was a second story happening. And then the wife would find out once she was taking the dog out because the husband was sick. One could wonder that the husband may or may not have realized it. Like they might have been so sick that they didn't think to themselves, wait a minute, the dog's going to take the wife where I think he might take her. And then, of course, that led her to the house on the corner. And then a young woman in negligee opened it, obviously implying that the man was having an affair with that woman on a daily basis. And so the dog, of course, loved it, didn't mind, didn't care, because they had a nice dish of meat waiting for him as a nice, I guess, distraction. So that way the husband and this young woman, whoever she was, were able to do what they did in privacy without the dog getting in the way. So crazy stuff. Could I see something like this happening? I actually could, mainly because some of the stories that I read online through yahoo.com sometimes showcases articles associated with affairs, and you'd be surprised like how deep some of these affairs are, like how complicated and how stretched out they become. And so I could totally see something like this happening. All right, everybody, let me know what you guys and gals think about these 3 stories. All right, everyone, take care. Bye.